Okay, so go to Figma, figma.com, and it automatically show me the first page related to my workflow. So I'm already logging in. But the interesting thing that you can choose the way you use the software. So I'm using that in browser. Otherwise, you can download the desktop application here and use it as a separate application. So choose the way you want. Functionality, pretty same. Fine. So what we have here mostly, we have here recent projects. I'm run with the first one, Intro, which I create for us. Just open that. Yeah, so this is the interface. What we see here from the left side, like this one. Here we see pages and layers. We work when we add some frames, some figures, some text. This is the layer, and we organize those layers on the left side of the screen. Also, we have different pages, which allows us to make like different contexts of visual representation stuff. So, for example, here I can focus on mobile version, and here I can focus on desktop version, and like move through them. Assets. On assets, you can connect with Figma external assets, which are served on Figma ecosystem. And you can use here like some buttons, like UI kits in general, right? You see here iOS 18, Material 3 Design Kit, and some simple design system from Figma itself. And you can add more libraries if you go to this button. It's more design stuff, right? And it's more like advanced stuff. We don't dive it too much, but you can grab assets made it by yourself or by someone and explore that later. So here we can, especially like as usual as at any program, navigate a couple of settings related to your current project. So on the left side, on the right side, we have actually the most busy part of the software where you can tweak the parameters of your any entity you use. And at the bottom of the screen, you will see some actually tools which allows you to manipulate, create, edit entities inside of the Figma. And main central part here, where you actually see the whole thing that you built. You can use it in two ways. First way is a constant, like we every time see those to the left and right part of the interfaces. If you have small screen, like me, for example, I can use this button to minimize UE. It's this button, what just to do, it just hide the big amount of interface from our eyes. But if we click to any entity, actual like part that like the useful part of settings related to entity showing on the right side. So all fine with it. So here's the button. You can choose your way to work. Here we go. So here we have like small structure. Let's focus a little bit on that. Like I briefly go through the interface, show you tools, then we go through frame, shapes, text, grid layout, like what is that, how it works. A little bit go to practical part with a weird design. It's just boxes, not boxes like squares, circles, nothing more. Running the prototype, yes, in Figma, we can like build some prototype, like the design we have, and we can run that and kind of host that and show it to other people, like just link, and they can open it with a mobile phone or with a laptops, I mean desktop computers, and actually have pretty close experience to your final result. And like we have a couple of kind of things might be improved, like how to speed up your development process and how to less frustrating making the interface, because sometimes when you create the interface just with a blank screen, and then when you see that on mobile phone, it looks like dramatically different. So here, like a couple of ready-made interfaces which allows, and mockups which allows you to take a look at how the design looks like on mobile phone with the Safari browser, Chrome browser, etc. A little bit about shortcuts. In Figma shortcuts, it's a killer feature, and I'll show you why. And a small homework, and I think also you have like this ones on your team, like you have things to do, like create a landing page and try to experiment with the components. And paid resources are not related to our team today. Yeah, so I'll send you this one too, and I actually can share with you it like now, because why not, right? So how I can do that? On right side of the screen, we can see share button, and I can just like copy link and send it to chat. So you join your mouses here to make it more playful, and like view can anyone, edit no one. Yeah. Oh, I see a lot of people who join, and cool. Also, you can duplicate this project right now because you already opened that. And when you duplicate it, you can use that. So it's like the tips and tricks how to use the free version. Fine. So let's start from button F, which is frame, which is located here at the bottom of the screen. And if you just like press this button, or if you just click to this button, you will see on the right side different types of frames. So related to your own context, related to your project, you can actually like ask where people use this service and what the audience actually. So if it's like modern audience, and you know that most of them use, for example, iPhones, you can start with an iPhone frame, right? If it's Android-based guys, go to Android. If it's tablet people, you know what to do. Desktop people, you know what to do. So, and here a lot of other things. Actually, like you can make a frame for Twitter's, Facebook, Instagram stuff, Dribble, and LinkedIn. So now you know that, and like you can start making the design for any of those kind of contexts. We start with the iPhone 16. Yeah, and actually, like second useful shortcut on Mac. Sorry for that. I use Mac mostly with Figma. If you press the command button and you scroll with the two fingers, or how you scroll on your Mac, buttons up or down, you can zoom the project. It really makes sense because mostly you work with lots of frames, and they are all there are a lot of frames, like you will see that later. So here I can rename it for like main section. Let it be like main section. And what I see here on the right side, so I see here actually a lot of options. And let's start from position. So let's start with the things that we can tweak, actually. X and Y. X and Y, it's a position of your frame on the screen. So if I press 0 and 0 for X and Y, it changed the position here. And so that's how you can manipulate and find the position on your project context. The second one is the rotation stuff. Not too interesting, right? Basic thing. Here you can rotate it on 90 degrees. Here you can swap it vertically, horizontally, nothing interesting, right? But the next thing is most useful. I think you use it every day if you use Figma, is actually, how I say, width and height of the object, like the parameters, main parameters of the object. And you can choose, you can change it like with the mouse, which is not preferable because it's like you cannot control exactly with the perfect pixel sizing. So it's better to write it like that, just in parameters. Yeah. So that's about that. Appearance, I think it's, yeah, so you will see that's about transparency. This is about, I think, angles. Yes, that's about angles. So when you build like for example, iPhone interface, we all know that the angles of the frame have some shape. So like you can start thinking that, okay, I need to make a design for this type of screen. And I just like make it right. To know exactly which curve you need to use on the iPhone, just Google that. It's like open that. There are a lot of templates with actually prepared visual looking frames. It calls mockup. So next one is feel. So you can change the color of the frame. It might be quite useful. Also, you can add gradient and different types of gradients, radial, angular, diamond. So it related to your idea thing. Also, we can put here image. So if you have on your background some kind of image, please download that, upload that, and you can tweak it in the simplest way. And also you can add video background. So for example, on some of websites which I built, like vivianspiral.com, here we run, I forgot N here, sorry. Here we see the video background on the website, right? So to show like how video background might work, you can make it, you can show it on Figma too. And then you just made it solve the other issue, or front-end developer solve the other issue, make a good-looking, working web design for the browser. And also you can add like different layers on fill. So maybe you have like image, on top of that image, some gradient color to make like more deeper looking stuff. So strokes are like, let me create another one frame. So I press F, and with the mouse, I just like choose the frame. Let me add some fill here to make it look somehow, that we can identify that. And with the stroke, we can take a look here at especially this thing. So this is the stroke, right? We can control the width of the stroke, make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, so here we control the width of the stroke, different colors, and yeah, and different types of how stroke connected to your frame, because it makes sense if there are some front-end developers, when you make a stroke for your div, you can choose how the stroke actually connected to the frame. It might be center, it might be inside, it might be outside. So it makes sense from the design to representation as in the front end. Yeah, so, and also we can change, I think, the types of strokes and other stuff. So a lots of things, right? Lots of things, lots of cool and really interesting stuff. Effects. When we talk about the buttons, inputs, and actually trying to animate, trying to show the depth of your design, you make shadows for that. And this effect as a shadow actually available here, it might be inner shadow. Inner shadow, it's a shadow which is presents inside of the frame, and drop shadow related to actually you have a frame, and after the frame you have another frame, and you have shadow on top of the other frame from the red frame. This context. Blur, it's another one CSS related stuff, like you can blur your frame, for example, on some buttons if they are unacceptable, or if you want to blur some card to don't show the, especially what types of thing or what the product is like available right now, like you want to highlight that but you want to show, but you don't want to show that, so you can use blur for that. And you actually can control here the how it might be blurred. So yeah, cool thing. And background blur, it's another one useful thing. So you have a frame, and as a drop shadow, you want to blur like behind this frame, so you can make it to here. And also, as always, you see here a lot of pluses, so you can add like bunch of effects together, mix them, and then realize the same thing with the code, which might be useful. Yeah, layout grid. So layout grid is more for designers. So when you start to read about the design principles, to make it like look similar and to make relationships between different types of entities, like you have menus, you have like some other like some images and highlights related to another types of news, and you have some articles. They are all should be somehow organized and look similar from one paper to another. And actually grids allows you to start making that. And we create a grid. We actually can make columns here, and so this is pretty starting point. And when you build like the solution, like when you build, for example, the header for that, like let's call it header. Actually, take a look at the left side. We have here for frame. I can call it header. And what I do here, so I'll start somehow putting that on the frame of the screen. So what I do actually at first, I make some color for that to easily recognize it somehow. Then I understand that I need somehow to, or like putting that the best way, how to connect that to another frame. Actually, you can like make it with the mouse, and it's very nice that you have magnetic effect anywhere. And this is kind of header for us, okay? Then we create kind of picture frame for the picture. I add another one, fill here. Yeah, and what is going on here? So when I move the mouse, it connects me, magnets me to a grid, column grid, which I have. So it actually helps you to put items onto this grid and organize them in balanced way. Types of balanced way. There are a lot of different types. Explore that, read about that. There are like really different visions and opinions related to that. But it actually the interesting part, and with knowing how to open the grid, and then with the theory about grids, you can realize that how it's useful to work. So how it work? Go to layout grid, like let me delete that, go to layout grid. First one, you click that, you have just like a blank example with this type of grid. You go to columns, because most of grids for web development are in columns. And here from the left side with the settings, you can choose like from 5 to 12, like 5, I think, for the mobile, 12 for the desktop, like from 1024. With screen for mobile, it's 5 columns. And like now you know how to open that. To not like make it from scratch every time you create new frame, you can just like hide it. Actually, you have this eye on almost every parameter, so you can hide it. Take a look at the result. Then if you need to add another frame, you just show it again, make it work, etc. For example, I want to add another one frame. I just click on frame I have. Let it be a rectangle section. And I can just use Command Z to duplicate that, and it just makes a new version of it with the same parameters on the right side. And I can just like highlight the column on the new section. For sure, I should rename it to column section, for example, and work with it too. So, and the last thing from the right side is an export. So export allows you to actually bring your frame to image, SVG, it's a vector representation of image, JPEG for sure, and PDF. So related to presentations, you can just like choose all the frames, click here. So I choose all of them, scroll to the bottom, click export layers, and can export them. Or I can click plus with that, click PDF, export 3 layers as PDF, and save it to desktop. And I have a zip file with all frames as PDF. Then for sure you should connect them in the order you want, and you have a presentation, for example. So it's about like this first basic part. Do you have any questions like now related to that thing? Please ask me. Yeah, Lucas, please.
Yes. Could you also export this as a code format? Like
yeah.
Okay.
In general, yes, sure. I'll show it. Okay, maybe I'll show you the export of that thing. So here on the bottom, we have like different types of tools, right? But the right type of tool, it's a dev mode, as we see here. But it's not available for free tier users, so I need to upgrade to professional developer to, as we taking a look at the dimmer part of the software, we see here that we can actually see the layout, display head padding. We can see like as from browser debugging interface. So it looks similar here. But here you see debugging from the Figma, and you can actually grab the code, like copy that, or open extension in VS Code and see the same UI and copy this parts of code you need and just paste it into your code, and it work mostly like that. But we use here free software too, free solutions too, and Figma is a really good software because it contains under the hood plugins. So if you right click on the screen or on the section, you can see here widgets and plugins. Today we're taking a look at plugins. So I will go and manage plugins. Actually here we have, here we have the action. Okay, this is kind of search button Figma. They update their interface to new one. That's why I'm a little bit confused here. So here we see this button actions. It's kind of our my main search tool. And if you go to plugins and widgets and here choose the plugins, so we can choose some or search some plugins related to Figma only. And here we use Figma to Code plugin. This one. This is the free plugin which allows us to do the same thing that Figma provides with a professional subscription. For sure, professional subscription works better, but to start understanding the concept stays behind the Figma using this plugin makes sense. How to use that in proper way? You choose the frame which you want to extract as a code. You highlight that, and then you just have a right click on this frame and go to plugins. And I have reasons here, Figma to Code, or you go manage plugins, find the Figma to Code, click, and just wait. Ta-da! Here we have very good simple UI, which actually shows us what is going on. We can start with plain HTML representation, just kill JS6 for now. We can use Tailwind, which I dramatically advise you to use because it takes easier and faster front-end development. If you write plus, if you want to know today about Tailwind a little bit, I'll show you later after the Figma section. Related to HTML, so text section, we see here the SM, MD, LG. So here we a little bit move into like tricky space. When we developed the design for the devices, or especially for the web, we cannot just like make a code working just with one screen resolution, right? Because there are plenty like devices in the world. They are all different, and we should taking care about that. It's really a necessary thing. And this little tiny UI shows you how your design looks at those three main types of representation stuff on the screen. So SM related to small screens, it's mostly mobile phones. On the different variations of size, but this is like the average representation. MD mostly related to tablets. So MD just recognize that as tablets users, it's something in between desktop size and mobile size. And large is more about desktop users, and here you can just see briefly how it looks like in general here in these three contexts. If we go to the bottom, we see here representation with the code. So what to do, what to not to do. What to do, recognize how the components are connected to each other. So we have some parent component here, and we have some child components inside of the parent component. Let me turn off the optimize layout too, just to don't have anything. So here, mostly we have straightforward pixel size. Why don't just copy that? Because if you have some different screen size on your device, or your like user have a different screen size, your design getting broke, and you need to learn concepts connected to responsive design. With the Tailwind section, if you want, we can take a look at that. Mostly, these values are about okay, this is the mobile design, so I should think about how to translate it to code the way it works for mobile screens. Yes, there are some cap for mobile screens, some of them less, some of them more, but I should care here in context of the mobile screens. Same thing for the inside, for the div containers inside of the parent container. Here we actually have like color, for example, which is easy to identify. And here we have some positions related to parent component. So here we have optimized layout, like mostly use this parameter here, because mostly when we build the front end part, we building it from the center. So we have like working zone on our screen. And for example, if we have 4K screen, it doesn't mean that the whole your design should be from 0 pixel left side to maximum value of the width on the right side of the screen. You have some working zone, which is like 1280 width. Make it bigger makes sense if you're an artist and you want to impress people who use 4K displays. Otherwise, I don't know why we need to use that, but it's just my opinion. I might be wrong. And so you center it. You have some like white spaces, which are a part of the screen, and that's okay, but you actually have some actionable stuff on the center. That's why optimized layout makes sense. And for people who use in React, we are using Java JSX. It's like JavaScript in HTML. And the way you write CSS there is slightly different, right? And this button just converted to this representation. And if you use Tailwind, so you have here more options. HTML, and we have layer names here. So layer name is like if you're building with a plain CSS, and if you, for example, want to, like if you work with the designer and designer understand the principles of the front-end development, he can make you easier to make the front end, because when he create the frames, he actually understand that the frame is a div, and he can call the div as a class to let you be easier to transfer your design to the code. So if he called the frame in the proper way, you just turn on the layer name and you use it. It's easier to use. But if it's not, you can build it, you can write in your own way. And Tailwind, here more interesting stuff. Like here we have fixed stuff, but if we, they don't have this optimization, it doesn't make sense here. So this is just like Tailwind representation of code. Round values, we talk about that later. Round colors, we talk about that later. Custom colors later. Layer names, I'll show it. And the last section is the colors. So here you can actually put on your design system these colors and then just call it from design system inside your div, which makes front end happen easier. Whew. I can answer any questions if they are. Okay. Cool. Maybe it all makes sense. So okay, fine. Text, working with the text. Let's do some like tricky thing. No, not tricky thing. I remember what to do. So we know that, okay, we know like basics of the interface. Actually, the thing that I show you, the stuff that I show you, it's good enough to do. With just this knowledge of interface and tools, I'll build like 5 websites and they work well. But when you use just a free tier, you should delete previous design, and I can show you anything, just like can show you one presentation which I built at last. But it's really useful thing. Just trust me, Figma cool. Let us a little bit dive into tools on the bottom section. So move, it's just like mouse, the main thing, nothing interesting. Hand tool, it's just like move your main part of the screen to navigate. Scale is about how it works actually. Okay, it does make sense. If you use just command and scroll, it works as scroll. About this one, frame, section. What is section here? I never used that. Okay, sections. Sections is a nice thing. I never used that, but I should use that. Starting doing that, maybe it makes sense. So for example, you build the solution for buttons. You build the UI for buttons. And you can make button 1, button 2, 3, 4. And this is the default button, unactive button, active button, hidden button. And when you build this different types of buttons, you actually can move the whole thing. Or you can work just highlight that, okay, it's on the subscription. You can highlight, okay, developer, it's ready to go. So you can start using that. And developer in development mode see that designer assigned this section to realize on the front end. Slice. I used slice one time, I think. We have a frame. What's that? We have a frame. We take slice. Okay, no, I don't use that. Okay, this ones is might be useful. So sometimes in design you need to make some simple solutions. Let's do it with the Eclipse. For example, I want to make a bubblish UI, and I make a bubble. Actually, other thing, when you create any kind of frames inside, we are starting building something, right? And I want to make a ellipse here. So if I just create an ellipse, just click it, it makes me cool 100 ellipse. If I shortcut. If I click the mouse and move the mouse, I can make different width and height of ellipse. But if I want to control it on the square kind of way, I press Shift and just drag it. It works for every mouse dragging element. So Shift is making your element increasing squarish way. So and I want to make it some bigger. Where is my ellipse? It's here. So for example, I drag my ellipse here and it moves from rectangle section to main section. It happens lots of time. What you can do, you can just drop it and drag to rectangle section and find the order where you actually can control the header, the frame, let it be image and ellipse. So the header stays behind the ellipse. To fix that, I just put the header on top and ellipse now stays behind the header. So this order makes sense when you build the solution. And if you somehow lose your entity, first of all, take a look at left side at layers, find your entity, put it in the right frame, and it will work. So yeah, let it be ellipse, and I want to make it somehow like that. Yeah, so why not? And then I can just take the same ellipse, write it in CSS, give the same color. Like, let's take a look how it looks like on the output. I choose a rectangle, just click here to make sure that it works properly, go to code. And here we have the third div, which is here. So rounded full, it's a circle, basically. And so that's how it is represented here. And it's absolute, so it makes sense here. So yeah, that's how it works. But another one thing, when it's all nice, like we built some rectangles and ellipses and other stuff. But what about relationships between these entities? Because most of the time, oh yeah, there is a questions.
Yeah, just a quick question. Does it has any negative effects that the circle in this case goes over like the screen that you're like over the screen size you defined? Like yeah,
It's not a problem.
it's not a problem.
Yeah, most of the times, like for example, just imagine when you scroll down, you have an animation when the circle goes from the left side to the right side through the viewport. So it starts rendering outside of the viewport. It's moving from outside of the viewport to viewport, floating through, and then like go to the right side. But when you scroll up, it should go to a positive way. So it renders all the time at this context, but it just moves from outside of the viewport to viewport and again to outside of the viewport. So that's totally okay with that. Actually, in the front end, you have not on the like viewport viewport abstraction, like viewport section, which actually like the screen of the device. You have the Z index, which is we see here, and so now like all the elements are in absolute position, and what makes sense, just how I ordered them inside of the Figma. But in the front end, when we build the front end, we need the relationship between the sections, between the divs, between those containers, right? And now I'll show how to make those relationship to see more closer to production front-end code. So the main difference here is we click one magic button, which is located here on the right side. It is auto layout or Shift A. What it actually do when we build the div container and we think about responsive design, we think about like how to make our solution, to write our solution in one place that work both for mobile devices and for tablet devices and for the desktop devices. You should think about this, and this stays on the relationship between containers. And auto layout, actually the first thing, so you start building that on parent container and it start building the relationship between child containers inside of that. So what we see here, the order of relationship we have, like vertical layout or horizontal layout. In CSS, it's like you make a div, you call display flex, and then you order it flex just without anything. It's related to row, or flex call, it's related to column. So vertical layout, it's flex call. Horizontal layout, it's a flex row. Also, you can make a wrap where you it's with connection of the width of the screen. So if you make screen smaller, containers starts going on bottom from each other. So we start with the column here. Here also we can somehow align them. So I align all of them at center and at the top. Here we have our lovely, well-known from the front end padding parameters. And for example, this is padding from top and the bottom of. Oh no, sorry. It's between objects, gap between objects here. Sorry for that. I'll just don't realize that this is the first one. It's like when you have the column, the divs connected to each other, and from the parent container, you can control the gap between those containers. Useful stuff, right? Because it works in code that way. Here is the paddings, the horizontal padding, and here the vertical padding. So horizontal padding actually makes space in our context from the screen. Like we have our screen and we can make a padding from the left side and from the right side at the same time here. Very useful thing for like if you, for example, make an article and you have header which is like take the full space of from the left to the right. But when you work with the text, you need some safe spaces from left and right to make it easier to read and to go to the next row and read another one sentence. So you can control it here, and it's very useful. And for sure, top and bottom, they are here. You can control these parameters too. For sure, you can control that separate. Just click this button here, and it separates left padding, right padding, top padding, bottom padding. So that might be useful. Yeah. So, but as we all see, when I make auto layout, our circle is moving to the center. And as I told earlier, we need to take a look at somehow relationship between containers, but red rectangles somehow stay at the same time. So what is going on there? I'll show you. Let's start from the container, from the red container. So here, if we take closer, we see that our image and the frame of the image are inside of the rectangle. This parameter controls absolute position in context of relationship between containers. Like when you have a parent div and you have a couple of divs inside, and you can control the position of the z index and position of the specific container in your way you want, you need to do next. For the parent container, you write relative. On the child container, you write absolute position. And you can control in context of parent container position of child container anywhere and the way you want. For example, I can hide it from the ellipse, or I can move it to the front if I want. But in this case, I don't want to have this rectangle in absolute position, so I turn it off in section position, and here we have this little button. I just turn it off, and we see that our rectangle is gone because it is in the wrong order. Now I put it in the right order. So we have in the first order header, in the second order we have an image, and in the third order we have an ellipse. And now it all makes sense, which I talked earlier. So for the ellipse, we here use it in absolute position. So we go to ellipse, go to position, make it absolute, and now we can like drag and drop that again the way we want. And we see that it overflow here. Yeah, so now it cover the same way we do that earlier. So, and what we have right now? We have right now a parent container. We have a relationship from this container to other containers inside of that, and let's take a look at differences in the code, right? Because we are all here because of that. Hopefully it works. Okay, let's go this way. Ta-da! So we have here, as I said, let me start from, so let's start from things that I told earlier. When we make auto layout, we make container flex. So we make it flex. We align container from the top. That's why it flex start, because we make it a column, and flex start in the column is a top. Align item center, we start from the top, but we said that all child components are aligned from the center. So, for example, these two items of CSS are related to this parameter, connected to that parameter. Flex direction column. So if I press it here, it be a direction row. So it's about parent container. So now go to the next one, the header. Let me turn on the layer names to recognize it easier. That's actually cool stuff. Header. So the position is relative. It's connected to the parent container. But you know what? And here for sure, sorry, I don't recognize that the gap is the padding between, it's actually the gap. Yeah, it's the gap between objects inside of the container. And we have this header, so it's just like located as it is without any other parameters. It doesn't say that top 0, left 0. It just stays with this amount of values. It just says I'm relative. I just contains this background and nothing more, and it works. Ellipse 1. So ellipse 1 here is it's not an absolute. That is strange. It should be absolute. It recognizes it in sometimes. So now we see the difference. I make a design differently. It recognizes that way, so it can't convert these tricky things. So, and you should like make it think about that, right? Think about that in your way. So ellipse should be absolute here, like 100%. Trust me. And image, which is the red container, it's just like have the same pretty same parameters as a header, like amount of parameters, I mean, nothing more. So it's about the relationship makes your code shorter, more efficient, and more adaptable to different screen sizes. Less code you write, more you think about how the relationships might work in the order of size of the screen, better and stable being your UI. But maybe I'm wrong. Any questions here? Okay, fine. Let me go to the next section. Are you alive? We are actually 1 hour. Are you okay for a little bit more? Okay, fine. Let's go a little bit to, for example, we have like this kind of solution, but the problem is we don't know how it looks like at the mobile phone, right? Because we see just like rectangles. I mentioned about that earlier. And Figma developers are cool guys. because there are a lot of solutions which are open sourced for developers, and you can just like grab that, copy that to your project and start to use. So I'll share with you this link, just put it somewhere. There are two mockups. One mockup for desktop browsers, another one for the mobile browsers, for iPhone here in that case, and Apple MacBooks. How to use that? So I just like open that here. Now you see the magic of Figma. And so I have this like cool mockup. I just copy that. I don't care about like to explore that. It takes time. Like it's on the explore section. So what I can do, like imagine just in browser, just from the different tab, I'll copy the whole project and paste it into my project. That's so cool. And what I do next, here, I know that if I go to the template, I'll see here add design here, and I see this Apple image, like as an example. And what I do here, I just like take my section here and put it to design, right? And try to maybe order it in the way I want. Yeah, so I'll put my design here. Like I'll just put my example, and we take a look how it looks like in this mockup, for example. Oh, someone get in. So it's like an example how this might look like in an iPhone. Cool, yeah. It's really cool. I mean, I really like that. This is like how it looks like in Chrome. Like when I download. So yeah, I understand that this is not a beautiful design, but I'll show you the idea how to check that. But I don't realize why it just why it don't taken care of Safari. It should be. So it's like the issue of this thing. Otherwise, you can just like copy these containers and paste your examples here and take a look. Yeah, so it's available to do that. So those two frames are working, other frames not, but I hope you will find how to connect that. It's not a rocket science. It's really easy. Just like see the relationships and connect them. It's not too complicated. The same thing for the, it's an iPhone browsers. Yeah, I need this one. So we don't build the desktop solution here, but I'll just show you that, yeah, this is pretty much the same. So what to do, like the easiest way, just like go to this tab, go to screen and paste to screen your design and just take a look at that. So this is the like easiest way to take a look. Other way, for example, we have this rectangle section design. We can send it as a preview to our client. And what we do here, we run preview. I'll just take a look. Is it work? It should work. Yeah. So I'll choose the section, the frame which I want to preview. I click here button present, and it shows me this preview. And if I build the solution which allows me to scroll, to animate, and etc., and I can just like scroll it here, and it shows me the whole animation. But it's more complex stuff. like if you want to dive into that more, it's like another one thing, but it's all available here in preview. So that's why it might be so useful. And also you can, like this is for iPhone 16 for sure. You can choose like different here types of the iPhones. For example, so this is the issue which I'm talking earlier. We changed the model of iPhone and our frame is built for the specific size of design. So in mobile phone, our design in mobile phone and this model looks like that. That's why when you build the front end, you should think like about responsiveness of the design. Yeah, so, okay, this is about how to present things. And we also can share the prototype. So I can just copy, share, click the share prototype button, copy link here, send it to chat. If you go to the chat, you will see not the design solution. What I sent? Oh, here, yeah. We don't see the design solution. We see just the mockup with design, which is useful for presenting stuff, for like what I think about that. Is this amount of buttons are good or not? For example, issue here, which we have, we put our header on place where the camera on the iPhone. I think, just for me, I think this the header of the not the header, the nav bar of the website should be after the camera to make it easier to navigate. Yes, it takes like more space, but I like that approach. So now you see that it all makes sense and you can like decide on your design. Okay, I have here camera. Do I really want to put my logo on the center of the header, or I want to do something else? So this might be helpful in that case. So that's, I think, all about Figma today. Is there any questions connected to the Figma topic? Yes.
So first of all, thank you so much for the great lecture. Very interesting tool. I have two questions. First one is about the button you mentioned briefly. Can you make the buttons work actually, or is it just about design?
You can make buttons work. Thank you for your question. Cool question. Give me. Yeah, this like the interactive parts are mostly components. I'm not like so fluent in components. Sorry for that, but I'll try to show you how it works. Like I make a section, buttons. Like for example, I make a button. Make inside of that like make after layout, set that this one is 200 on 120. Okay. Take the text. Yeah, here you also can add text, comments, but I think that's easy to recognize. Enter. Let it be just this word. So, and let me add another frame, put the word enter inside of that frame, make frame. Oh yeah, thank you. Great question. And actually, I just highlight a couple of other things that might be useful. So we have a button here, and we put the frame here, which is like we want to frame our word like as in a button. Like we have a button, but inside of the button we have somehow placed a word, and we want to change this word in automated way. So this button is related to that. And I put the frame, but also if I go to enter, I'll see that somehow my text block is outside of the frame. So we go to position, just click 0, and it comes back to position in relationship with parent frame. So I put here text, and I make it auto layout too. So, and about button here, I paste it to the center here, and maybe I want to, here when we work with the text, we have typography setting here, so we can choose like with lots of different fonts and other stuff. And let me just like take some mono and make it 32. Yeah, cool. So this is like kind of our button. Maybe I'll add here like some, not that. Where's that? Ah, here. Yeah, maybe a little bit. Maybe like that. Yeah, why not? So I have this button. This is like my default thing. I don't like how it looks like. Maybe make it like that. Yeah, design stars. That's why I don't decide to make design here, because like the different context. So we have a button here. We can convert this just div into component to make it interactive. So I can just go to button, right click. I can go just button, right click, and can make a component. Where is that? Create a component here. Click that, and it starts being valid as other components which I copy from other body plates. So, and this is the different abstraction of your container. What it allows you to do? It allows you mainly to add properties and change them. So I'll make another one. Just like copy that, and this is let be button empty. So here, and this is the parent component. This is the child component. In parent component, I do. Oh no, this is the parent component. Sorry, I'll add the property, and I'll add the text property, and I'll name. So name of the property text. Let it be like that. Why not? And on the value, I should choose. How I can choose that here? The value is value itself, empty. Maybe. Okay, I do it another way. Sorry, that's why I'm talking. Sorry, I'm a little bit confusing in new interface here. So I create the component. I go to parameter which I want to change. I go to text, and here in text, I see here the word enter, and I see here the button. So I can make this area as a property. I click here, and here I see the property text or the like button name. And value enter, so I can convert it to empty. Okay, create a property. Cool. And then in component, I can change it. I should be able to change it. Okay, it changes here. Okay, fine. So this is the instance now. Oh yeah, this is the instance. This is the parent. So parent here, if I want to add something here connected to instances, I changed it here, and it affects all child components. But if I want to make child component differently, I can write in my setting just in child component, it changed the name here. But I can change like the whole design here. For example, I want to make this button red, and it changed all the buttons to red, right? So I hope, sorry for confusing, I hope you got the idea of that. Okay, we have this button. We just like grab that button, put it here. And we want to prototype it. So you can ask about like, okay, I want to interact with it. So, and interaction being like, all the interactions are located in prototype, a part of the interface. We go to prototype, and here we see all the interactions. So now we can make an interaction with this button. I'll take this button, I'll add the interaction. I say, here we have a types of interaction, this trigger on tap. Also, we can like see lots of interactions here, but let's start with the first easy one. And we can add like on tap, we can make a relationship with other div component with other entity, right? And for example, we can make a navigation, for example, to this section. Like I choose the destination, which is main section. And now we see this relationship between button and this section and how it works. Like all of that are made for the presentations mostly. So I run the presentation, it runs the project, and I have here button enter. So the idea, I click the button enter and it gets me to another one frame. This context, another one section. Hope it like the first step how to make the interactions. And again, you choose the entity which you need, for example, button. You go to prototype, you press plus, you see here some UI, you add that. If you choose navigation or scroll to or other stuff, so just like explore that, but in most of things, navigation is useful at the beginning. Then you choose here the parent frames, which are located here on the right side. So all the like section, column section, rectangle section, main section, and bunch of other system stuff, which are parent too, but they don't. We don't need them now. But we all see all of them as a destination, as destinations here. Yeah. So just let you know about that.
That's really interesting. Thank you so much. And the next question is more of a fundamental one. For the context, I'm studying to become a front-end engineer, front-end developer, and I'm quite surprised that this kind of tool that makes things so easy for front-end developers exists. And I know that you're working as a front-end developer already in the field, so I'm curious about your opinion. Is this tool actually used in the field to create codes? Like, is it like how reliable are the codes created by this tool? And I wonder if this kind of tool gets improved more and more, will it replace front-end developers' job entirely?
Thank you. Cool question. So there are like two layers of answer. In context of free tier layer, it's useful, but with some like things in mind. The plugins which are built by community, just in that case, not all the community plugins are the same, but in this case, they don't cover some specific cases like we try to explore today. And and when you use those plugins, you just need to understand especially how the code works by yourself. And when you grab the code, you just understanding like, I don't need to use here constant values of size of div, or I need to use, why I need to do that. In payable and subscription Figma dev mod, which is payable, at the first time they don't cover that tool, but then with lots of feedback from the front-end developers, they cover that. So if you work in the company and they pay for your license, or you're a good freelance software developer and you have access to the payable part of the software, it works well, and it mostly covered that. And also, I like it. So yeah, like mostly it's all about that. If you go with the free tier, just take in mind that you need to take care about yourself at first. If you use dev mode, for sure you have more wider and more experienced team around you, and they help you anyway, and the software is work in more efficient way here. And is Figma widely used? Yes, Figma is widely used. They have really cool conferences where like very different companies and people presenting like their vision about design and other stuff. They are all mostly use Figma for the web design. And like previously, it's been a Photoshop. Like previously, people use Photoshop for making the graphical parts, but like then Figma become here the solution, the leader of the solution for those types of things.
Thank you for the answer.
Thank you too. Quick intro to Tailwind, and we go to other things. So Tailwind, I don't forget. Yeah, okay, Tailwind CSS. Okay, fine. So what is that? If you work with a React, with a Next.js especially, this is the cool library. It's completely free, it's widely used, and what it actually do? It's making your experience with transferring from design to code process easier, faster, and more stable. Why? Easiest answer, because they create the cool interface and it work. This interface work. Industry like find that useful. So what the key features of their solution? No, not there. Sorry. They have. I try to find this part of the code, sorry. Okay, let's start. Maybe this one. Anyway, let's start from configuration. Okay, so when you install the library, you have this file, tailwind config.js, which contains by default. So you don't see that, but this is like the custom. Here the customization, but by default you have predefined values of colors, sizes, fonts, border radius, spacing, so lots of basic stuff, right? Without that, you just don't have them. And why it's useful? Because, for example, when you build stuff with Figma and know that your designer know that your front-end developer or your company use Tailwind, you just take all the spacings, all the like parameters which are predefined from Figma. They are available. So like someone built the template for that. So all the predefined parameters are available from Figma or from Tailwind in Figma, and you start like building sizes and all those kind of stuff just with this starting point. It's way easier than just build everything from scratch. And after that, when your developer grab the design from Figma, he understands that you use the same amount, the same spacing, the same like predefined configuration, and he just used Tailwind, and it makes the experience for the front-end part way better. And for sure, if you have, you have some customizations, so you can discuss about that really smallest scope than just simple CSS of customizations. He put those customizations into Tailwind config file, and it just work. So that's the difference. That's the main difference. And about another one thing, so about the responsive design. When you go to here to responsive design, you will see like the principles which stay behind the Tailwind responsive. And here we see the breakpoint prefixes, which are looks pretty similar from Figma. We see like we have here a small, medium, large, XL, 2XL breakpoints. So how it work? Like you make some specific site of your, let me make it bigger. You have some specific site of your container. It might be image, it might be div, it might be anything. So you create it like that. But you say that from width 768, it should be W minus 32. From 1024, it should be W minus 48. So I hope you got the idea, and how it works. Like you make a picture, for example. If your display bigger, you just said that okay, if viewport, this is about the viewport. This is grab the viewport size and send it back in the library. It said that okay, my viewport now this one. CSS said okay, for this case we have these differences, and you just like write it when you make a div work, like when you produce the div on the front end, which is, I find, very useful. About W32, W16, you just can go with the command key, start press width, because W is width, go to width, and here you see like what each value represents in pixels and in rems. Like here, W32 is 8 rem or 188 pixels. And if we go wider, it changed to another one rem and another one size. And yeah, so it worked like that. And if you go to each like part of the specific predefined settings, actually you learn how the front end work and which parameters you need to make everything looks beauty, native, etc., etc., etc. And also you see like the predefined solutions there, which are like with the visual representation and with the code. So yeah, it worked like that. That's about Figma.